guys? Ahmed here, back with another video. Here today to give you all my review of Jugg Season by Critch. Alright, so let's get into it. Just general thoughts. I ain't gonna lie, y'all. Similar to my last review, if niggas keep dropping albums like this, I might have a decent list of worst albums of the year that I can actually give at the very end. I was not a big fan of this album. Overall, it was forgettable and just treaded no new ground for an artist that was in desperate need of artistic evolution. But let's get straight into it. And one word you're going to hear me say a lot throughout this review is forgettable, because that's a lot of what I felt listening to this album. It's 19 songs, which was entirely too long for the lack of variation that existed on this project. And it had some of Critch's worst songs. And so, yeah, let's get into it. Writing, I have as a mid. So the two things I want to say before I get into my problems is that I want to clearly recognize that I think on this project, Critch seemed to make a bit of a stronger effort to really improve the deepness of his writing. Like, he tried to talk about more serious topics on this and what he had been through. And I think he also tried to level up his punchlines. There are some metaphors that he makes. They're fairly simple and not at all creative or interesting. And so it doesn't really land anywhere. But I do want to say the reason why this isn't a bad is because I could tell that there was at least an attempt to improve on what he was coming with prior. That being said, I feel like there's so many different ways to be an impactful or enjoyable writer in rap music, and he just did none of those things. His subject matter was extraordinarily vapid, mostly just about the amount of money that he makes and the amount of girls that he's talking to about. There's no storyline about the girls that he's speaking to. There's no storyline about the girls that he's speaking to. There's no interesting narrative focus song to song. That's pretty much the only two things he's about, and passing glances about how he hangs with shooters. Now, when you have styles like that, it's important to come with a degree of cleverness, something that stands out in writing that says, oh, wow, I didn't expect him to say that. And also to have a certain level of potency where people can feel what you're saying. And I just felt nothing listening to this. There was no charisma. There was no clever lyrics. There was nothing interesting or funny about his punchlines whatsoever. And so it just kind of felt like a guy just talking about how much money he made over and over and over again. And like I said, there's just nothing really eye-catching about his writing. Even the stuff he gets into where he sort of talks about the deeper levels, he kind of just says that he's stressed or says that he's been through a lot and then doesn't really get into any of it, right? He doesn't actually talk about what he's been through. He doesn't separate himself. He doesn't separate his own experience from the dime a dozen experience that everyone has been through, which is just hard times, which is very disappointing. And so overall, yeah, the writing was mid and really forgettable. Flows, this was the most disappointing part to me, the flows, because normally I can count on Critch to have some witty flows and interesting pockets that he lands in. But the album was so long that those moments were so few and far in between. And there felt just like rows and rows of assembly line songs that just sounded the same over and over. It felt like from a vocal tone and tempo perspective, he was approaching so much of this album in the exact same way. And it was just cool, bro. Okay. And on top of the fact that the writing wasn't all that interesting, this really hampers the enjoyment of the album. And so, yeah, the flows were pretty mediocre. Like I said, he sometimes found those pockets where he was really in it. And it's not like he was rapping off beat or anything egregious like that, but he just approached every single song seemingly the same way. And the choruses were surprisingly lackluster on here. Other than some stuff like punchlines and I think Nah Nah, there wasn't really like anything of note. And it stunk also because whenever he would finally get to talking about something deep or something consequential, he would employ this auto-tune delivery that, in my opinion, has like made his music so much worse for like the entirety of his career, imitating like it's like a cheap Quavo impression, and it's just frustrating that like you're trying to hear the deep message and you're just berated with these like over processed vocals and sound like he's not even trying for real. He didn't sound hungry. He didn't even sound interested in the music that he wanted to make. It felt more like he just was assuming that it sounded cool because it was him saying it, and it came off as very very lackluster, and overall it was not very entertaining, which was a really big letdown because I was really hoping that this could be the sort of turnaround point. Because despite what y'all may believe, I really would love to see Jay Critch creep into that top 10 spot, especially this year with all the shakeups with people like Lola Brooks and Ice Spice. I would love to see some new faces in those that bottom 6 through 10 section. But with flows like this and with bars like this, you're not. No. Production and creativity was bad. I ain't gonna lie, that was just bad. The production was whatever. It was just typical trap beats. I can't even lie to you. There was a couple interesting instruments here and there, but those really felt like anomalies in this sea of just like basic Migos beats, really basic little baby beats. To be honest, it felt like he was taking the beats out of a pack and just doing whatever with them. It was super boring. But the real reason why I give this section a bad is because of the creativity. This like from a writing perspective was so void of any level of creativity. I would expect these bars from like a B side of the bigger artist or something like that, or the B side of Long Live ASAP. I think that was the one I reacted to or reviewed on this channel. Just basic fashion talk, but it wasn't even like I said, it wasn't even delivered in an interesting way, right? So it wasn't even all that interesting. And so not only that, but this sounds eerily similar to the rest of his albums, which if you saw my Jay Critch artist review, you know that it at points was hard for me to even tell the difference between what project we were on if I didn't check, because you could literally like swap song for song on either project. And this just sounded again like a B-side of Critch tape, which is, as y'all know, my least favorite project. And overall, it just felt like he was treading no new ground. And on top of the fact that he didn't exactly have a polished sound to begin with and was riding on coattails of people, like I said, with Quavo and A Boogie to begin with. And I'm saying rapping wise. Obviously, he's got his own voice because, you know, everyone has their own voice. But like from an appeal perspective, I just feel like it was A Boogie without the vocals and Quavo's vocals. It was really disappointing. And the features were mid overall. It's interesting. So I think the highlight of this album feature wise for me was Max B. I think there's only 3 features, which, God, bro, when you yourself are approaching every song with the same one note every time, it would have been nice to see some more features on here. But anyway, overall, Max B was definitely a highlight. I really enjoyed the chorus that he offered, and I really cannot wait to see what he does if he's getting released from prison anytime soon. I don't know the story with that, but Max B was really, really talented. Rich the Kid offered one of the worst features, bro, because people, it's crazy, right? It's crazy, right? Because when I said in a video before, I said With all due disrespect to Rich the Kid, because that nigga mid. People was like, oh, bro, he not mid, bro. He got a couple good songs. Bro, this feature is exactly why, like, bro, that nigga, bro, he failed you, bro. He sold you an eighth, bro. You got to get your money back on that feature. That shit was garbage. That was garbage. And I think there was another one that was like middle of the road vocals for a chorus, and it was cool. Um, and so yeah, oh, it was like I think Money or Baby Money, something like that. And it was alright. But overall, that's kind of how I felt about the features. And overall, the musical execution was uh I'm gonna go with bad. I'm gonna go with bad. I feel like there was no songs that I personally wanted to take and put on my playlist. Uh, there was definitely a couple of highlights, but when the majority of your album is extraordinarily forgettable and you don't even have the enjoyable choruses of, say, a Hood's favorite, it's not a good look at all. And I think particularly what makes this bad is, like I said, the length of the album. If he had cut down like a cool 10 songs, then maybe this would have got a mid or even a good, because proportionately there would have been more quality tracks on here, but there just was such a large sea of mediocrity musically here that it was just not all that interesting, to be honest. Uh, and I frequently found myself bored listening to this. Some of the auto tune runs were truly abysmal. I really did not like them at all. Some of the choruses, he just sounded bored and annoyed, as if he didn't even want to make music. And overall, I just really didn't take much from it musically. Uh, with that being said, thank you all for watching. Let me know what you thought about Jug season in the comments below. Please subscribe. I'm trying to get to 50 subscribers before the end of the year. Really doing my best to give you all as much quality content as I can. And with that being said, peace, y'all.